Hello and welcome to the Orthodox Choices. My name is Jerome or Hieronymus. Awesome, awesome. As part of this channel, I play games, so we're going to talk about games. We talk about movies, we talk about books and TV shows in our culture, but games we just kind of ignore for the most part as if they have no value or they're a waste of time, as if books and movies can't be a waste of time. So I'm going to talk about games. I played Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo is a supernatural thriller action-adventure game developed by Tango Gameworks and published by Bethesda Softworks. Taking place in the visually pleasing streets of Tokyo, you play as Akito, a young man who finds himself waking up from an accident with a new voice in his head, new powers at his fingertips, and scary umbrella-wielding enemies emerging from the empty streets covered in a deadly miasma of fog. It's basically the closest thing there will ever be to a Yu Yu Hakusho game. To start off, I want to talk about anything that may be offensive to certain people's eyes and ears. Also, just to talk about the game for parents who may be thinking about buying this for their kids. The ESRB, or the Entertainment Software Rating Board, gave the game a teen rating, citing language and violence. I would call the language mild. There's not any F-bombs as far as I remember, and cussing is not every sentence, not every other word. It's every once in a while. I'm going to call this pretty mild, pretty light compared to some games that are out there or other medias. The violence is just basic combat with the enemies. There's no blood, no gore. There's nothing like that in the game to speak of. When defeating enemies, they just poof into a flash of particles. Same with you when you die. There's nothing horrific or gore-wise in the combat or the violence. Beyond those items, I will say there is one other thing. The game's steeped in Japanese mythology and spiritual aspects. Playing the game will have the player casting spells using their hands to cast them. They're throwing talismans, using talismans. They're taking on Japanese mythological creatures and demons, and talking with the dead to help them pass on to the afterlife from the perspective of Japanese mythos. So that is in the game, just so you know. I will also say that there's some pretty horrific scenes. I would call it kind of psychological horror. It's not gory, it's not bloody, but some of the enemies are just kind of scary and horrific, you know? They're not pleasant to look at. There's also times when the world is warped, the fabric of reality just changes and things aren't as they should be. And this can be pretty scary, I imagine, especially for younger kids. You'll see some of that in the video here, so just keep an eye on that and keep that in mind. Now to the review of the game. I remember seeing trailers for it before its release. It looked really good, but I didn't play it. I was busy. I was about to move. Elden Ring had just come out. Destiny 2, The Witch Queen was in full swing. Now it's a slow period of time. I have time. I played it. Also got a gaming PC for the first time in my life that I built myself. So let's talk about the story. I enjoyed it. It was good. At the beginning, Akito is possessed by KK. KK gives him his ability to command the powers of air, water, and fire. And together they go out and they find out why this attack is happening. They go chase down the antagonist and they do what they need to do to fix things and make things right in Tokyo. Their relationship grows as they learn more and more about each other, uncovering things and talking, and they just work really, really well together. The main antagonist is a masked man. He's got horns, pretty cool. He's always on the TVs screaming out his propaganda. I'm not quite sure he's talking to. Everybody's dead. I won't spoil anything. The main quest is short, and I kind of wish that there was more time to be with the main characters and some of the secondary characters. It's not a complaint, it's a want. I want more of the quests, more of these characters, more time in Tokyo. The story wraps up in a satisfying way. You go find the boss, the antagonist, you go deal with the threat he poses to Tokyo, and you make things right, and the two characters, well, they move on with their lives. The weakest point of the game is definitely the gameplay. Absolutely. You start off with one spell, and it is a slog. It is a while before you get access to the other two spells. In between the first and the second spell, you get access to a stealth option, but it doesn't really do much for combat. So combat just feels slow and unpleasant for the longest time. But by the time you get that third spell and you start upgrading these bad boys, the combat starts to feel great. By the end of it, you feel it. You feel like Doctor Strange casting spells. It's awesome. It looks awesome. It feels awesome. The combat always felt though that it was missing something. I think part of that was the block system. You can block, you kind of put your hands up and the shield comes up and you block some of the damage, not all of it. If you time it right, you block all of the damage. And herein lies one of the problems of combat. It's in first person. You don't have the third dimension to gauge when an attack is going to hit you perfectly. So that makes blocking all the damage and doing a perfect block extremely hard. It's always hard to tell when an attack is going to connect with you and that you'll be able to block it. The combat just felt like it was missing some additional movement, maybe a dodge mechanic or something like that. It just needed something else to wrap up the combat mechanics, just in a nice little package. I played the game on hard mode. I never felt like the challenge was too difficult on that. There was a harder setting, but I played through a little bit and you couldn't level up. You didn't get experience. And the only way to upgrade your skills were to find these books, a limited amount of books, mind you. And then you just wouldn't be able to level up your skills. But leveling up the skills makes the game extremely fun. And I can't imagine the game being fun without leveling up your skills. The skills actually make the combat bearable and not a slog. So I played on hard, not the difficulty above that's called Tatari. I played the one below it called hard, and the challenge was perfect. You were able to level up and upgrade your skills, and by the end, the combat felt absolutely great. Absolutely great. That hard mode is the perfect spot of difficulty, probably. Let's talk about the music. The music was great. It was composed by Masatoshi Yanagi, who worked on the soundtracks for the Evil Within series as well. Heavily inspired by Japanese culture, obviously. Instruments, singing styles. A lot of it reminded me of Ghost in the Shell music, which is a great comparison. That's not a bad comparison. That's good. Great music on both places. One particular piece that always haunted me is when the enemies are capturing souls, they put them in these containment cubes. And there's just like, before you even notice the cube, sometimes you just hear the music starting. You're going, what is that? And then you get down there and the battle music starts, and it's always unsettles you because it's always a hectic moment when these cubes appear anyways. Visuals. The game looks great. It's a good looking game. This is definitely the best part of the game. I would say the visuals. I actually went and checked out the Shibuya City Google Maps Street View, just kind of look around and see how comparative they are, and they did a good job. It looks exactly the same. There's stuff I've noticed on Street View, and I was like, that's in the game for sure. There's some of the shrines, not as many in the game, obviously, but some of the walkways look just like what they did in the game. You're like, where's its inspiration right on its sleeve? It's right there. That they captured what it's like to be in Shibuya City, Tokyo. From the subways to the streets to the alleyways to the top of the tallest buildings, you're just going to have a great time exploring the city. Another design thing alongside the city is the visitors. They're creepy. They're absolutely creepy. Every single last one of them is unsettling and unpleasant, and you don't want to be near them. It makes you want to kill them faster. They affect the world around them. They're the absolute worst, and they're awesome looking. They're great. The best part of the visitors is every once in a while they have what's called a demon parade, I believe, and a bunch of them just gather together and they're just marching down the street, and they've got large demons behind. It's so good. I'll show in the video here. Another thing with the visuals is that the enemies have effects on the world. So when the enemies see you, the lights around you start changing color to tell you, hey, they see you. You've got tall, slender, faceless, and suit-attired characters with umbrellas, headless school kids, ghostly apparitions, lady barbers who make the world look disgusting. One of the enemies was like affecting the paint on the sidewalks and making it flap around. It was so creepy. So creepy, so good. It's just the enemies are great in this. They're all scary and creepy. The game ran very well for the most part. I did notice the odd frame rate drop. I have to assume with the city a lot to render, objects, enemies, spell effects, sometimes the frame rate drops a little. It dips. But only once or twice did the game like become a slideshow. And above that, it never, and not once did I get a single crash. Didn't happen a single time. One more thing about the visuals. The rain is weird. I don't know why they decided this. The rain effect is the literal kanji, the word, the alphabet for rain in Japanese. That kanji is just falling out of the sky. That's the rain effect. That's weird. There's nothing else like it in the entire game. I don't know why they did that. It's just weird. Anyways, let's wrap this up. I'm going to say the game, while not very replayable, that single playthrough you have of the game is going to be more than enough. You can do as much or as little as you want. You can do all the side missions. You don't have to. You can go save something like 200,000 spirits or not. Your choice. Your choice. Either way, I absolutely believe this game, like, especially a year later, you're probably going to get it on sale. It's absolutely worth your money. Absolutely worth your money. So go out, pick it up. I'm going to give this game a 70 spooky umbrella carrying visitors out of 100. Thank you for watching my review of Ghostwire Tokyo. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been the Orthodox Oasis. My name is Jerome or Hieronymus. May the Lord bless you and keep you always. Did I mention this game has dogs and cats in it? And that you can pet and feed the dogs, and you can pet the cats, and you can read their thoughts all around the city? Thank you, game designers. Thank you.